Hello English learners, welcome to our English learning channel Learn English Easily Through Stories. I am your host Robert. Imagine your life as a boat, adrift on a vast river, without a rudder, without a destination. That's life without self-confidence. No matter how brilliant you are, if you let fear and shyness steer your course, you'll never reach your full potential. So many of us live in the shadows, afraid to speak up, afraid to fail, afraid to simply be seen. If that sounds familiar, stay with me because this story might just be the turning point you've been waiting for. Marcus Webb was a real estate agent in Portland, Oregon. He was 52 years old, and he had been selling houses for 28 years, which meant he had learned how to smile at strangers, how to unlock front doors with the kind of casual confidence that made people trust him, and how to convince himself that the hollow feeling in his chest was just hunger. He had two sons. The younger one, Tyler, was 19. Tyler had his mother's gift, an easy warmth that made people want to sit near him. He could walk into an open house and within 15 minutes he'd be chatting with the clients like they were old friends. The sellers loved him. Even the difficult ones, the ones who were bitter about moving or angry about the market, softened around Tyler. He had a talent for it, that natural comfort with people, and everyone noticed. The older son was James. James was 23, and he had spent most of his life being measured against his brother and found wanting. Not cruelly. Just, repeatedly. The way families do damage without meaning to. Why can't you be more like Tyler? Tyler would have closed that deal. Tyler knows how to talk to people. James had heard it so many times it had stopped being a critique and become just air. The background noise of existing. He was not dumb. This matters. People always assume quiet men are empty, but James was full of things he couldn't quite say. He noticed everything. He knew the square footage of every house they'd ever listed. He could calculate property taxes in his head. He understood market trends the way other people understood the plots of TV shows, completely, without effort, just by paying attention. But none of that mattered because he couldn't sell it. He couldn't stand at an open house and make people feel like buying a home was the best decision they'd ever made. So he worked in the back office. He handled the paperwork, the inspections, the closing documents. He was the one who caught mistakes. He was the one who made sure everything was legal and correct. He was invisible, and he had made peace with that invisibility the way people do, by deciding it was probably deserved. His father, Marcus, didn't understand the peace. Marcus had built his entire life on being seen, on being the person people called when they needed something sold. He looked at James's quiet competence and saw it as a failure to want more, to push harder, to become someone who mattered. He didn't say this unkindly. But he said it. In looks. In pauses. In the way he'd ask about Tyler's day, how many showings did you do? Did they love the staging? And then ask James, did you finish those documents? As though documents were a consolation prize for people who couldn't do the real work. James felt all of it. One Thursday in November, Marcus left James to manage the office while he and Tyler went to an estate sale upstate. It was the first time in months James had been alone with the listings. Two men came in around 10 in the morning. They were nondescript. One wore a suit that didn't quite fit, the other had the careful grooming of someone who was trying very hard. They said they were investors, that they were looking to buy 3 residential properties in the northwest quadrant, that Marcus had allegedly promised them an exclusive deal on the Carson estate, the Riverside duplex, and the newly renovated Craftsman on Burnside. James didn't know anything about this. But the taller man said it with such certainty. Your father mentioned you'd handled this, said you were the detail person, that something in James's chest collapsed. He had been mentioned. He had been anticipated. Someone had thought about him. The men wanted to see the listings immediately. James gave them the keys. He watched them drive away in a black sedan. It took him 3 hours to realize they weren't coming back. He called his father. His hands were shaking so badly he misdialed twice. Marcus came back to the office in 40 minutes. His face did something complicated when he understood what had happened. He sat down at his desk, He didn't speak for a very long time. Then he said, very quietly, "I need you to leave. I can't look at you right now." James left. He drove to Forest Park, the big nature preserve on the edge of the city, and he parked near the top of the ridge. It was overcast, the way Portland usually is in November, and the view was grey and distant. He sat in his car and felt the particular weight of having confirmed something you've always suspected, that you don't belong. That you're the kind of person people take advantage of. That your quietness isn't actually virtue, it's a failure to matter enough to be worth lying to well. He was thinking about how long it would take before anyone noticed he was gone. Sarah Chen noticed him. She was a title company officer, 48 years old, divorced, the kind of woman who notices things because 30 years of paying attention had taught her to. She had been hiking the Ridge Trail when she saw someone sitting in a parked car with the engine off, in November, in Portland. She didn't approach immediately. She sat on a nearby bench and ate the sandwich she'd brought. She thought about whether intervention was help or intrusion. Then she thought about her own son, who was quiet and careful and had tried to disappear twice before he was 25. She walked over and knocked on his window. James looked at her like she was dangerous. "I'm going to sit in my car," Sarah said, nodding to the vehicle behind his. "It's getting cold. If you want to talk, my window's down." She didn't wait for an answer. She just got in her car, left the window open, and sat there. After 11 minutes, James got out of his car and stood between them. He told her about the men. About the keys. About the office. About his father's face. And then, because she was still listening and still not offering solutions, he told her more. He told her about growing up in the shadow of his brother. About school, the quiet kid who knew the answer but couldn't raise his hand. About the way his father's eyes always moved to Tyler when he needed reassurance. About 23 years of feeling like he was slightly outside every room he entered. Sarah listened to all of it. Then she said, "When those men came in, you felt something was wrong. Didn't you?" He nodded. "Why didn't you call your father?" "Because I wasn't certain," James said. "And I was afraid of being wrong in front of him." Sarah nodded like this made complete sense, because it did. "My son tried to disappear twice," she said. "Once when he was 24, once when he was 26. He's a software engineer now. Happy, mostly. But he told me, after he was on the other side of it, that the hardest part wasn't the fear of failing. It was thinking the fear was just accurate information. He thought he was correctly seeing himself as insufficient." "It does feel accurate," James said quietly. "Yes," Sarah said. "That's the cruelest part. Fear is very convincing." Sarah gave him 3 days. Day 1, go to the coffee shop on Pearl Street and ask 3 different strangers for recommendations for something you want to buy, a coat, a book, a restaurant. Not information. For the practice of approaching people. He went. The first person didn't know. The second gave a terrible recommendation. The third recommended a bookstore and actually walked him there. James realized that the world had not ended. He was not transparent. Day 2, she had a friend who ran a real estate education non-profit. She arranged for James to give a 2-hour workshop on property inspection to new agents. Just walk them through what to look for, what matters, how to spot problems before they become expensive. He stood in front of 23 people and taught them something he knew completely. His voice was quieter than he would have liked. But he was accurate. He was thorough. When someone asked a question he didn't know the answer to, he said so and promised to follow up. 3 people asked for his email at the end. Day 3, go home. Be there. Don't prepare anything. Just show up. He stood outside his parents' house for 20 minutes. His mother, Patricia, opened the door. She looked at his face and simply stepped aside, the way mothers do. His father was in the study, pretending to read the market report. James sat down in the chair across from him. "I'm sorry," James started, but Marcus held up a hand. "Why didn't you call me?" Marcus asked. His voice was rough, like he'd been thinking about this for hours. "Because I was afraid of being wrong," James said. "Because I thought if I admitted I wasn't certain, you'd see it as confirmation that I can't handle anything important." Marcus set down the report. "That's what I was afraid of too," he said quietly. "That you couldn't handle the world. That I hadn't taught you how to be aggressive enough, confident enough. So I pushed. And you just pulled away." They sat with this. "I didn't know you were afraid," James said. "I know." His mother appeared with 2 cups of coffee. She didn't stay. That was wisdom. "Come back to the office," Marcus said. "But we do this differently. You work the floor. I'll handle the back. And anytime you're uncertain about something, you call me first. Before you decide. That's the rule." It wasn't perfect. But it was honest. 5 years later. James runs the Portland office now. He's still quieter than Tyler. He still gets nervous before big presentations. But he's learned something, that confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to show up anyway. He married a woman named Rebecca who works in urban planning. She says she loves that he listens completely, that when he speaks it means something, that his careful attention to detail has saved them from making terrible decisions in their own life. Marcus still comes in. He sits at the front desk some mornings, watches James work with clients, and doesn't always say anything, but his face says it. He says, "I see you now." Tyler works in Seattle now. He still makes friends instantly. He's successful. But when he visits, he asks James for advice, about contracts, about market trends, about how to know if something is actually a good deal or just sounds like one. James doesn't envy him anymore. And Sarah Chen, she still walks the Ridge Trail on Thursday mornings. She's never had to intervene in someone's crisis again. But she thinks about James sometimes, and she thinks about her own son, and she thinks about how the most powerful thing you can offer someone who is disappearing is your attention. Not advice. Not solutions. Just, tell me. I'm listening. Quiet people aren't empty. They're usually full of things they haven't learned to say yet. The work isn't to make them louder. It's to show them that their voice, their careful, exact, considered voice, matters too. That being seen doesn't erase you. That the people who matter will wait for you to finish your sentence. Like this video and subscribe our channel. See you in next video.